Hey there, it's Mary Ellen Slayter. I'm the CEO of RepCap. We're a content marketing agency that specializes in HR tech, insurance, and financial services. And today we're going to be talking about how to win at B2B video. And one of the first things I want you to know about me is that I am a print person, or at least that is what I told myself for a really long time. I come to this from the print magazine background in a newspaper world where I worked at Washington Post for many years. I wrote a career advice column there, and I spent a lot of time even early on in my career, even running this agency for 12 years. The majority of the work that we did was written word. It was white papers. It was long form blog posts, a lot of email copy and things like that. And it's been interesting for me as a print person to make this adjustment to video as a primary mean of communication. And so I'm very excited to share with you some of the things that we have learned about this as an agency and that work really well. So what are we going to talk about today? First, I'm going to talk about the strategy here, because I think this is really, really important, because a lot of times I think when we talk to clients and they come to us and they're in a panic about video, it's usually because someone has told them that they should be using video. Right? It's like this weird, why aren't we doing video? We have to be doing video, right? And it's usually not a very thoughtful decision. Sometimes it's under pressure. So when I want to talk about strategy and how to think about not only video in the context of your content strategy, but even in the broader business strategy, like the bigger business problems. Second, we're going to talk about production. How do we make videos in 2024? Because it is very different now from the things that we were doing, I would say even 6 months ago in some ways, a year ago, definitely 5 years ago. The days of every time we make a video, we have to come get some big crazy camera crew and log in and set up, and we're there for a day, and it's this big burden. That's not really how video is getting made primarily these days, and especially it's not what you need to be doing for B2B. The next thing we're going to talk about is promotion, the last little bit, because I think a lot of times when we make videos, there's a lot of effort put into making the video and not a lot of thought and energy put into the long tail promotion strategy and distribution strategy for that content. And I do believe this is true of pretty much all content. Every content team that I've ever worked with in some ways is the natural tendency is to do this. But video, it seems like especially so. And I understand it. It's fun to make things. It's fun to create content. Most of us go into this business because we want to create stuff, not because we want to look at spreadsheets. Right? So, all right. So let's get in here. So why video? Why do we care so much about video right now? So one is that video itself has a unique ability to engage people, right? It's not that it's not everybody loves video, because I'll also tell you, I don't really watch a lot of videos. I don't. My preferred method of consuming information and learning things is actually not a video most of the time. I can read a lot faster. I like to listen to things. There's a whole kind of dynamic with that. I hate looms. I'm sort of talk about that a lot. It's why send me a 2-minute video when a 2-word email could have answered the question? But that isn't true for everybody, because we all like to consume content and learn things and engage in different ways. And so for a lot of your audience, video is the preferred way. Okay. 2, the ROI on this right now is off the charts. I would say because of the way that the various social platforms, things like TikTok and YouTube Shorts and Facebook Reels and even LinkedIn is heavily prioritizing video. You can put out a video fairly quickly and easily and have that get more reach and more engagement than taking the same topic and writing a blog post. Because as much as I just said, I read faster than I like to watch, video, I get impatient. Other people, it's sort of the reverse, that how much time it takes to create a big report or a big white paper. What if you can just deliver it, in a little smidge? The truth is nobody really wants to read big 40-page white papers anymore. They really haven't in a while. The only people who really read them are the people who wrote them and the companies that, basically made us write them. So if you can find a way to take those same ideas and get them in front of more people, why wouldn't you want to do that? And I would say video is a great tool for that. Next, we can actually make the messaging more memorable. Video has an emotional component to it. And I know that in B2B, we often like to think that it's all about the spreadsheets and the numbers and the ROI, but feelings are still the primary driver of why people make purchases. And the more expensive it is, the more feelings are involved. It's just a different type of feeling. And what I like to say as an example of this, when someone buys $1 million software, it's like, yes, you do need to prove ROI and you do need to like show that it's going to have a positive business impact. But it doesn't matter if you can show that if you can't quell the anxiety of the person that's about to sign that contract. And facts will only go so far. Video is a way, when deployed correctly, to help turn some of those negative feelings into more positive ones that make somebody pull the trigger. So, strategy. What do I mean by that? Because I think that's a word that gets used a lot and we think we all mean the same thing and we don't. When I say strategy in the context of the work that I do, content strategy, to me, that is our why. Okay. That is what is the business problem that I am trying to solve? Because content can solve business problems if we back up and think of it that way. And what are some of the problems we can solve? We can build brand awareness. We can, qualify our leads better. We can nurture them. We can even use content to get renewals and referrals. So the first thing I would ask if somebody came to me and said, we need to make some videos, the first question I'm going to ask is, why? Why are we making videos? And if they can then tell me, you a lot of times be like, well, because we should, because my competitor is making videos, because those are terrible reasons, right? What I'm looking for is to dig into, okay, what problem are we trying to solve? And it usually just takes a couple of questions. They usually follow one of these buckets and they're like, okay, like, so you want to make videos and like, where's the hole right now in your marketing funnel? Oh, you're having trouble. Nobody knows who you are. Okay, well then let's make some fun stuff that's top of the funnel, brand awareness. Let's get you out there. Oh, your customers are leaving. Like you're finding that they're not sticking, that they're not adopting the product. Like, okay, I'm making a very different type of video if I want to get people to stay because I have a user adoption problem than if I want to make sure that people have heard about me, right? I'm going to different channels. I'm looking at different formats. I'm going to measure myself differently. So before you film a single thing, make sure you can really answer that why question. Then once we know that why, a few things get a lot easier. We're now going to align that messaging and that, sort of the types of videos we make, both to, I'd say, to our core messaging, but also to reality is the way I like to think of it. A lot of times companies will come up with their messaging kind of in these vacuums where they'll come and they'll say, we want to make videos about this, or they'll have these themes, whether it's video or any other type of content. But just like, okay, well, where did those themes come from? Like, and you will kind of poke around, like, did the customers tell you this is what they wanted content around? Like, where's this coming from? And unfortunately, a lot of times it is like, my boss wants me to do this. Like our CEO thinks we should do a video on this topic. And it's like, sometimes you can't do anything about that, but try to push it. Try to find something that like aligns with that. So like if you say, let's say you are a talent acquisition, software tool that helps people helps people schedule their meetings, with qualified talent or something. I'm making things up, guys. But you would want to make videos about talent, right? And about hiring, right? So you need to think about who, and then you have to think about that buyer. What does your buyer need from you? And I really strongly suggest that you not just do this based on your opinion or the opinion of your boss. I would say then take those topics and go gut check them. And this is one of my favorite ways to use SEO tools, aside from like, oh, I'm making these blog posts and I'm going to go get these tools, go check those themes and see if people are in fact looking for them. And so we've got tools like SEMrush and Ahrefs. That's fine. We often think about those for print, for writing, but there's also tools called TubeBuddy. So my favorite one is called TubeBuddy. And TubeBuddy allows you to see what people are searching for in YouTube, like specifically. It is dynamically tracking what people are searching for, and you will be surprised about what people are searching for. And I would say the way to think about that is you're looking for things that there's a lot of interest by your target audience and that you don't have as much competition, just like whenever you're doing normal SEO planning. So I would say go over, and like often it'll give you suggestions. So let's say you came over and you typed in something like, a personality assessment. You're going to have a really hard time getting that keyword, right? That's going to be a tough one. Personality assessment is also going to have a high consumer drive, so you don't want that. But you're going to look over TubeBuddy's going to give you suggestions. It's going to say personality assessments for the workplace. And you're like, aha, There is search volume for this. I can make videos about personality assessments for the workplace. So take your ideas, those internally generated ideas, and go use some tools like TubeBuddy or SEMrush to test to see if there is real demand for the content before you make anything. Next, I would say you're going to need to get comfortable publishing and like a lot more frequently than you do now. Sometimes in B2B, we have a tendency to get in our heads and like we don't publish enough. And I'd say if you're going to come play this video game right now in 2024, you're going to have to put out a lot more content than you are now. You cannot put out a video a quarter and expect it to matter. You can't put anything out once a month and expect it to matter. In the world of reels and shorts and TikTok, like if you're going to do this, like you need to like start thinking about every day for certain types of content. If you want to have a meaningful impression in that channel. Yes, like if you're the point at which I would say as a marketer, the point at which you feel like you are doing way too much, you are now doing almost enough. You have almost made a dent. Because I think what happens is we look at our feeds, we go to our company channels, and our boss looks at our company channels and go, there's all this stuff. It's just so much. And it's like, guess what? Nobody else that isn't getting paid to do so is going to look at your channel that way or that feed. Your job is to just show up when people scroll every day. Okay. Every day is ideal for a lot of these types of videos. So don't faint yet, but just know that you're going to have to get people comfortable with this. The third thing I would say about this is you got to get ready to stretch the brand like a lot, because in B2B, we have a tendency to be rather boring because that is reassuring. I'm not saying that's wrong. Like when people write big fat checks for software and services, they generally want to be reassured that you're not wacky and zany. So the brand itself should have those dynamics. However, when we port ourselves over into YouTube, which has a very distinct aesthetic that stands out. When we port ourselves over into TikTok, my God, you've definitely gone into a different universe. Like you are competing for people's attention, with cat videos and like snippets from Beyonce concerts and John Batiste playing at jazz. Just like, no, you are not coming in here with your monotone voice explainer of your product. Like it's not, no one wants to see that. You can't do that, right? So what also happens is all of these platforms, like things like the thumbnail design, there are things that you will need to do to be successful that any properly trained, I'm going to say properly trained designer, like graphic designer, is going to find painful to look at. Because it's almost the off-kilter nature of them is what makes them appealing. I've encountered this, especially with video, where good, well-trained video people, they want to frame the people in like a nice and this very staid way, and everybody stays still. But in Facebook videos, TikTok videos, what we actually want is movement. And it's okay to be wacky. And you actually want a little too close, not a little too far away. That never works. But like it gets uncomfortably close, right? It gets like this. You're like, wait, why is that lady's face all up in my frame? But think about how you go through this content and like what stops you from scrolling, because there is nothing in the world more powerful than a human face. So human faces, it's just going to get uncomfortable. It's going to get a little weird. So look at the data, go learn the best practices, and just like kind of work, give your designers and your more sort of classically trained like video folks, give them a little time to adjust because they're going to need it. The other thing to think about is we talk about B2B video, like it's this vague, like, monolithic bucket, and it is not. Video right now means a bunch of things, right? And you've got to map that channel, like your format, choose the right channel and the right format for your strategy. And here's what I mean by that before I start talking about specific channels. If my goal is to use video to improve retention of my existing customers by improving their understanding and adoption of my product, I'm going to make long form videos. I'm probably going to put them in Vimeo, right? Or somewhere like that, or HubSpot. I'm going to protect them and keep them like a little closer to me. And they're going to be longer and they're going to be calmer and they're going to have a how-to kind of vibe of like, here's how you do this thing. Hey, I'm so-and-so, right? Different kind of branding. I'm not going to put them in YouTube. And you know why? Because you know what happens? YouTube is the world's largest search engine. It's also a recommendation engine. It's an ad network. And if I take my beautiful 6-minute explainer of how to use my tool and my product, do you know what and put it on YouTube? Do you know what my reward for that's going to be? My competitor is going to run ads on either side of it. They're going to go and you're trying to get them to adopt, whatever tool that you're guiding. And they're going to be, if I'm your competitor, the first thing I do is I go make an ad that's like, having trouble figuring out so-and-so, like we can help. So when you go, that's what I mean about being strategic, right? So if it's something, it's like bring it in, protect it. Vimeo will let you control it. You can put a Wistia. HubSpot also has some great tools they've been building in natively for this, but like, don't throw that in YouTube. You also don't want to make TikTok videos about how to use, your work tech software, right? Or your financial services software. Like they don't have time to process it. That's not the mindset they're in. If your goal is brand awareness, you go somewhere very different. Brand awareness, we can make little quick reels of like doing fun things. Like we can do things like we can get creative. We can have little snippets of things. Like there's all kinds of things. Like you're trying to basically pull a stunt. Like you're trying to do something interesting that would make people stop scrolling as opposed to teaching someone something. I'm also cool with like doing weird stuff over in YouTube but not just don't do your product adoption stuff, right? Like you're basically feeding like your anxious buyer to your competitor if you do that. So that's what I mean by that. So map the strategy to the channel. We're going to talk about YouTube, right? So YouTube is an interesting one because YouTube is the second largest search engine in the world. Like, I mean, aside from people going, there's one thing. One, if you're in YouTube and you're searching, like that's what I mean when I say it's the second largest search engine. The other way that search matters on YouTube is when you are on the regular Google search and you search for things like YouTube videos are going to be prioritized as the videos that show up in your feed, like on your page. Your SERP is going to have YouTube videos at the top if they exist. So if you have a challenger business that has struggled to compete with legacy companies that have grabbed your core keywords, like for example, if you were trying to come out with an employee experience platform right now in 2024, you are never going to get employee experience as God bless you. Like you're not going to be the top of the Google search results. Like that is locked in by so many people and so much good content people who are like obsessing over keeping that. However, if you go look at TubeBuddy research, wink, wink, you're going to see that there are clear shots at employee experience related topics in YouTube video. So go make videos that answer those questions. Things like employee engagement survey, how to design one, problems with you're going to go just like the data's in there, go make those videos and you might come up ahead of those people that have thought that they had locked on those terms. And this is organic, y'all. This is the organic part. So you just got to map it right to the channel. So the other misunderstanding that I encounter a lot about YouTube is people assume that videos need to be short. Video does not need to be short. Video needs to not be boring. Video needs to meet the intent of the person searching. It doesn't need to be wacky. We don't need lots of jump cuts. Like what I need the video to do, like any other content, is what I, as a user, am looking to get out of it. So if I need to be entertained, that is one thing. Like if I'm coming and you want to entertain me, if I'm trying to learn something, slow it down, right? Like answer my question. That is actually what I'm looking for. So on YouTube, we've got two types of videos. We've got the main channel, the main feed, right? That's often what we think about as YouTube. And then there are shorts. Shorts should be short. That's YouTube's answer to TikTok. These things are like 30 seconds long. They're often a lot of movement, they're real discrete clips. They stand alone and people are scrolling through them so fast. Like usually with the sound off, and we're going to talk about that in a minute too, but the main feed, the ideal length of a YouTube video right now is between 6 and 8 minutes long. If you want to get in the channel, have things rank, especially if you're doing it for search, and you want to get fed into YouTube suggestion engine, and you need to be 6 to 8 minutes long. And there are some practical reasons for that related to YouTube's algorithms. One, they can't sell ads in shorter videos than that. They need content to run and then an ad, and then content to run and then an ad. So it's just like why are sitcoms 30 minutes long? I guess they're really like 22 minutes long. It's because that is the ad slot. Like that is the slot. And then we put in that. Think of YouTube the same way. They're just going to put your ads in. So when you pull your feed with a bunch of like little short videos, you're not giving YouTube any space to put in ads, which means they have no incentive to suggest you to anyone, and they will not. So 6 to 8 minutes is what you're going to do. The safe bet here is B2B marketing. We do a lot of webinars. The safest thing you can do, right, is to go take your webinars and edit them a little bit, like get the housekeeping off the front, remove anything like weird stuff that happens, and like make them nice so that a person can sit and watch them. Write a nice long optimized description, which again, TubeBuddy can help with this. Make sure you have a nice thumbnail, do your end cards, make sure the title's right, and publish that. Okay, that will give you a good foundation on YouTube. That will let you begin to build a reputation for producing that kind of content. I have never seen anybody get fired for posting their old webinars on YouTube, right? And if you're worried about gating, nobody watches gated webinars anyway. They have to be live. And if you want people to see them, go ahead and just put them on YouTube. Let the world find them, okay? The channel play, like if you actually want to do something specific to YouTube and you're ready to like, you know what, this is going to be a core part of my content. I want you to go do some research, take that core messaging we talked about, go do some research in TubeBuddy or a similar tool, find out what kind of things you can answer that your audience needs to know that your competitors can't answer as well. And I'd start with the basics. Like if you're running, an accounting firm, like, that's a software for accounting firms, like you could say something like, what is a CRMs for accounting firms, right? Just say it, like define it, like, and then you can go through. So if somebody is searching for those things, they will find them. 6 to 8 minutes long, put it on your calendar, produce the video, take that, put it in the blog. You can do lots of other things with it, but commit to it. If you want to play this game, commit to it. And once a month is not enough. Go at least every other week. Ideally, get in there and make them weekly, but it's explainers. So that's YouTube at a high level. There's obviously, we could do a whole webinar about YouTube, but think of YouTube both for search and also for suggestion. Okay. Then LinkedIn. Everybody on B2B always says LinkedIn. Again, why do I have my videos on LinkedIn? The most important thing to know about LinkedIn is that the algorithm for LinkedIn highly prioritizes that human face, a close-up dynamic human face. Just drop the animation. Like light motion graphics are great, like to add some movement, get some lower thirds, you can have a nice little intro, but do not linger on that. Like you need to come in fast on people's face. That's another common mistake that I see people making, especially older video people who were trained before, in commercials and things like that. We let things linger. There's a tendency to like, oh, we come in, there's an opening, and then they start talking. Nope, nope, not on social video. Come in straight. Give me the face. I don't need this thumbnail. Get this animation out of here. It's like that actually hurts you. Come straight into the face after the thumbnail. The safe bet. Take your webinars, cut them into little 2 to 3 minute sessions, right? Like that's it. Like just little not 2 or 3 minutes. Like you can go up to, I think, like kind of long on LinkedIn, but everybody says like basically 2 minutes. Don't go past 2 minutes. Nobody's watching that. The other thing to note here, because this comes up a lot, I'm gonna go ahead and talk about this. Like what captions are really important. Okay. If you're thinking about those elements that have to be there, make sure the video, don't over index on the production of the video. Keep the video itself really simple, but you need a good thumbnail that is clear and readable and has high contrast. And then you need captions. And for me, that is human generated or at least edited captions. Do not let the social platforms auto generate your captions. And I will talk about that why in a little bit later, but that's one of the pieces of it. Like get in here, cut those webinars and drop them. The next one, what I call the channel play here, that's the talking heads. Like that is where you fit for that purpose. Go and interview your CEO. If you've got a dynamic CEO, interview them and capture them answering questions about trends. Go talk to your CTO about technology and innovation, like that kind of thing, and then edit those for a purpose and put those in LinkedIn. And don't just run them on the company page because they'll have limited reach there, but put them in their personal profiles. That is the thing that I am seeing have the greatest impact on LinkedIn right now. I call it it's the Chris Walker effect here, right? So if you don't follow Chris Walker, go follow Chris Walker and you'll see what I mean. He's just a guy talking about sales and marketing, looking slightly off camera, like it's with a microphone in front of him. And they're like little snippets of videos, and then they write, the social copy around them, but do it on their profile. The catch with this is that people actually have to have something to say. Okay. What you cannot do is expect that type of video to come on and they're just like, don't talk about your product, don't talk about your service. Nobody cares what you believe at wherever it is that you work. You have to come in and say something. And as an example, I recently did a video actually that I ran on LinkedIn where I came in and I was like, who killed the white paper? I'm trying, right? And I just kind of came in and kind of had this point of view. That video was viewed 6,000 times within 3 days. If I came on and did a webinar about what, very nicely about, day-to-day in content, I don't no longer advocate working, for white papers. I believe that we should do video. And here's 3 reasons. And at RepCap, we're really great. No one's going to watch that. But coming on and talking shit about white papers and the people who still make them, like, that's interesting. So get your CEOs to say something. Another, the next thing we talk about, Instagram and Facebook. This gets tricky. I know a lot of people think that they don't think of it. They go first to LinkedIn because it's business, right? But people are on Facebook. They are on Instagram. You cannot come in. This is not the place to put your product explainer. Nobody cares. However, it is the perfect place to do behind the scenes, like what it's like to work here, who works at this company, little vignettes, the pets of your company, like have a little fun, to be very human with these. Don't over edit them, don't overproduce them, but interview the people that work there. If you're that's the channel play. If your webinars are human-centered, and what I mean by that is like a person is presenting and teaching and they're the primary thing in the frame, versus we do webinars and it's a big slide, deck, and my person is down here in a hole. Your webinar cuts can also work for Insta and Facebook. But again, it can't be the slides. Like, so if it's just the slides, like all big and a tiny little person's head in a circle, that won't work. But if you got a human being, you can put them in here. TikTok. TikTok is one where people, I feel like, are fascinated, but also terrified when it comes to B2B video. And you should be. No. It's like, it really, really there is no safe bet here. Okay. There is no safe bet on TikTok. You cannot play it safe and expect to win on this channel. We cannot serve, unseasoned chicken and vegetables over here. Like, this is where you are going to have to be creative. You're going to have to be willing to take some risk, find the humor in what you're doing at work, because our jobs are funny. Like, yes, even those of us who work in B2B, marketing, it's like, there are funny aspects of the job. Like, lean into it, lean into that. Don't overproduce it. I've got this video that actually we recently shot. We were talking about performance management, and it was like, what if we actually talk to our friends the way that we talk to each other at work in our performance reviews? And so we wrote a little script, and I have a friend here, our friend Janet, she's an actor. She does a lot of improv, and Sam, who's actually our producer for this event today. She went from viewer to producer. I don't know if that's a promotion or a demotion. I'll let her weigh in on that. But we shot those in an afternoon, and they're silly. They're silly, and they've outperformed anything else on the channel that we put them on. And so if you kind of keep going, if you go look at the tags, if you want to see, if you're curious about this and you're thinking about TikTok, go look and see, look at your job, whatever your profession is, go look at HR humor. Y'all, there's hashtag welder humor is a thing. Hashtag, HR humor, hashtag HR, whatever it is that you're doing, there's bank humor. Just look at the hashtags and see what people are searching for. Those hashtags will tell you, if there's an opportunity. So look for an area where there's a lot of activity that you think you can stand out, and have some fun with it. Okay. Have some fun. Those are the main channels. And sort of in our time, I'm going to kind of zipping through this, but I wanted to give you kind of a high level of how I think about this. The next thing I want to talk about is production. How do we make these videos? Because now you're like, oh my God, lady, you just told me that I have to put videos out every day, and I have to edit tiny little hats, on top of my real hats, and what can't do anything fun anymore, right? So how do we do all this? So first, recording. Let's talk about recording. we use you want to use, if you're serious about this, you need to use a remote recording platform that is built for that purpose. So we recommend and prefer Riverside, which is a remote recording platform. It does multi-track, like you're in for multiple people. You can do it from anywhere. It records up to 4K, which for those of you, if you're figuring out there's HD and there's 4K, y'all, we rarely need 4K, but it's just kind of cool to be like, yeah, it records in 4K. If your camera does, we're all walking around with this equipment that's like way better than anything that professionals paid for like 10 years ago. It's kind of wild. So Riverside, we do it in that. You get a little studio. These things are not terribly expensive. It also has some editing capabilities. We can talk about that a little bit. But the most important thing is like Squadcast is another one. You can also use Squadcast. That will also allow you to record that. They recently got bought by Descript, which is one of also our team's favorite tools for editing. It's text-based editing. And your iPhone, y'all, iPhone. Sometimes I think about the fact that I have a 15 Max, and I was doing the images at the Eclipse recently, and I'm going in and changing my settings, and it's like the things that our phones can do now. Like, it is completely acceptable for you to film with your phone. Get a tripod. You might even get a little lav mic if you want to have something. The audio is usually if you're regularly at a loud space, but even in Riverside and things like that, we actually use our phone sometimes as a second camera. Like this camera, guys, this camera is better in most people's hands than a DSLR. Like, a great photographer is going to obviously use a real camera better than the rest of us, shaky handed, people here. But for most of us, we're going to take better video and better photos by just using this baby. Just get a tripod. You can also get fairly inexpensive camera, like webcams. In some cases, the one on your laptop it's okay. The problem with the laptop camera is that you're going to stare at your screen, and then you're always going to be looking down, and it's just like not a cool look. So get yourself I use a Logitech Brio. That's what a lot of podcasters use, a lot of regular people. That's actually what this is right now. It's 4K. It goes in 4K. And it'll feed in as high quality as I want it to. So they're like $100. So I'll send in after this webinar, I'll send actually out a list of like some of our recommended tools depending on budget. But get a real camera, get a little webcam, use iPhone. And that's recording. So do a lot of stuff remote. You can do a lot of things remotely. What we're not going to do is use Zoom. We're not going to use Zoom because Zoom, even though Zoom might look better to you in the screen because the way that they dynamically fill it in, it is not as high a quality. Riverside and Squadcast record in your browser and save the files, and then they upload them. So if your internet goes out, it doesn't matter. If somebody it gets slow, it doesn't matter. Like, it's just still capturing it there in the browser. So don't use Zoom. It just doesn't look good. And it's actually harder to edit. It's actually a lot harder to edit if you give a video editor Zoom footage because they can't separate out the tracks as easily. So let's talk about Riverside some more. It also is good for something else and some of these other tools, editing. How are you going to edit these videos? So yes, you can go hire someone to edit them. There's actually lots of great editors. You can do things like, obviously as an agency, we edit, you can go on Upwork, you can learn some basic editing skills. And I would say as a modern marketer right now, I would encourage you to play with this, not because I want you to all go out and become video editors, but because the tools are getting so accessible at the most basic level. I think it's worth trying. So let's say you did an interview in Riverside, and inside Riverside, there's actually some really cool AI tools. They're called Magic Clips. And you can go in, let's say you had an hour-long video interview, whether it was for a podcast or something else, it will actually suggest to you what the social clip should be based on the flow of what it's present, of the content, and also it just knows. The craziest moment to me, because you can also take it. The other thing we talked about, formats, all those other video types, like there's horizontal is what you're going to have in YouTube as the main style. But most of the others now, we do a lot of vertical because things are on our mobile. So shorts are vertical, Snapchat's vertical, TikTok's vertical. And so let's say you shot horizontal and you want to then adapt it to put it out, as a YouTube short. Riverside actually will do that for you, like in the editor. You can just go and click a button and it'll take it from 9:6 to 6:9 for you, or 16:9 to 9:6. It's kind of crazy. The moment when I knew that the AI was like really advanced was when I looked at something. We have a client, it's a friend who's a keynote speaker. And so he often sends us his keynote speaking footage. And when we uploaded the video, the keynote recording, which is him on a stage, very horizontal, standing in the middle, and said, "Here you go, Riverside." And when I got the vertical, their suggested vertical cuts, one, they were pretty good. But more fascinating to me is it knew to follow him around on the stage. A dumb auto edit would just have gone to the middle of the stage. The smart auto edit knew that he was walking, and he's an extremely dynamic speaker. So there was a lot of movement. And so I'm like, damn, this is better than I would be. Like, I'm not sure if I would be able to keep up with Ryan moving this fast, but the AI had no problem. The AI had no problem with that. That's wild. To me, that was as wild as when I realized like that with Photoshop, this is something, again, you kids today, you have no idea. When you cut out people from a photo, like you have a background and you want to cut the whole person out and you want to put them on this other background with cutouts, that used to be incredibly time consuming. Like Katie on our team, our designer, is a magazine designer and art director, for years. She that was something that could take days to carefully go around and cut around someone's hair. And then Adobe brought us all basically that cutout tool that meant that you could just do that. The AI was smart enough. It still struggles with hair. It still struggles, especially a textured hair, but that's crazy, y'all. And to me, the video being able to know, like, follow him on the vertical, that to me was on that level of monumental. In addition to Riverside and Squadcast and their native tools, you can also look at Canva. Canva also has video capabilities. So you can hop in there. They've got templates for things. You can definitely make your thumbnail there. You can kind of make very basic intros, little animated intros and outros. Lately will also help with this. Like if you go to Lately, y'all know I love Lately. If you take the long video and you feed it in there, Lately will take that Riverside Magic Clips concept. It takes it a step further. It actually makes the recommendations based on the channel that you want to use it in, because it's built for social. It's like you feed it the hour-long thing and it says, yeah, here's your 5 things for Instagram. And it writes the copy. Like that's, if you're doing that in bulk, like that's a great way to think of it. And then increasingly, the tools themselves, like the platforms, have their own editing capabilities. So if you have something and you want to upload it, and YouTube itself, if you have a long form video, now at this point you log in and it says, would you like us to suggest your shorts? And we're like, okay. And you can edit, you can trim, like you can do a lot. I know some people, like there are serious YouTube like creators who do almost all of their editing in YouTube itself. Like they log into the platform because it's gotten, once you've developed your branding and you've got your thumbnails and things like that, and you can just do things in YouTube. And editing here encompasses like the content, right? So we might record a big long interview, or we might have that webinar, or adapting it. It also, that's content editing. Color correction and things like that, you are not going to be able to do in these tools. There is serious video work that you cannot do in these tools, I will say. There you're still going back and you're looking at like Adobe Suite, and you need to go get trained or hire someone who is actually trained. So make sure that you get good lighting to start with, and kind of basics. But for social video, you don't need a lot. You really don't need a lot of fancy stuff here. But if something has to get, if you accidentally shot something badly and your CEO's face looked green compared to something else that was next to them, that's something you're not going to fix in these tools. You got to go get somebody that is skilled in Premiere, and sort of like Premiere Pro, and that's a problem. Music is also something that comes up a lot. So in editing, you can also add music. And this is an interesting area that is actually often a hot point of discussion, like with some of my clients. People, they want to add music classically. I mean, traditionally music was great in videos. Like you watch a commercial and there's always like these videos, and like movies, of course, videos help set the mood. It's like, my God, what the really great thing about Christopher Nolan's movies are actually the soundtracks. Like just don't even watch them, just listen to them. Video for social. I will argue that you do not need video, generally speaking, or you should not put a lot of effort into it. And the reason why is that 85% of people watch Facebook Reels with the sound off all the time. Like they don't turn it on at all. At all. And this really baffles the 15% that do, because there are people that, and then the thing about it, you have to think about user behavior. And this is a good lesson for all of us when we think about how we consume it versus our end user is going to consume it. You, of course, are going to watch your video because you made it, and you're going to send it to your boss, and they're going to watch it, and they're going to have the sound. They're watching it very intently. But you have to think about, I'm going to pull this up actually. So Reels, I sometimes will even find myself mindlessly watching this stuff on Facebook. If you go into Reels, and I'm just going to show this, I'm not sure, Sam, how much this shows, but you don't turn the sound on. You do need captions, because if you don't have captions, there's nothing. This video right here is it's from Reddit's Am I the Asshole? And it's literally text on the most boring like background, and you hit play, and this is what a video looks like to your person, right? And if I wanted to go watch another one, I think Dave Ramsey, one of my favorite hate watches. You're watching Dave Ramsey. No one's listening to Dave Ramsey, right? This isn't like when the radio station, like for years, you think about Dave Ramsey. I could honestly, though, I've heard Dave, I could hear his voice, like reading this, these captions and the placement of these captions. No one's watching this. You're sitting on your couch and you're going, is it interesting? I love these. Like you get into videos like this where it's like role play. A lot of like, you can do these little role play things. Those are really fun, for B2B stuff. But this person is like a wedding planner, and I'm not getting married anytime soon, y'all, but her videos are really funny. But I don't know what her voice sounds like. I have no idea. I don't know if she plays music. She probably does. It doesn't matter. And so the point is not that you don't have to put music on, but you just need to make the video stand alone, knowing that they probably aren't going to hear it. That's kind of weird, right? Look, it looks like this. This stuff's ugly. This stuff is so ugly. Ugly is what you have to do to win. We watch TV shows. Like these are like snippets from Grey's Anatomy. I never watched Grey's Anatomy, but I feel like I've seen it now in my reels. Like I've been watching it 45 seconds at a time. And so try not to let yourself, the secret to winning at this, back to going like you've got to put out a lot of content. Do not let obsessing over little details, like things like color correction. Remember, I'm looking at this on my iPhone. Sound, like music, layering in music, good sound, clear sound that doesn't like yell in somebody's ear. Yes. Layering custom music, absolutely not. Absolutely not. But this is where you would edit this stuff in. Like you can have fun with sound effects and things, but that's what I mean by you don't need it for this. Now, if you're making a commercial, if you're going to make the big video that's behind, like at your booth, yeah, go do all that. Not for social. The other thing you have to do, you've edited this video, right? So you've worked this out, you've edited this video. By the way, I mentioned AI. You can also use AI to help with your script writing, and I'll kind of talk about this here too. Please go make captions, and please don't just let the auto-generated captions in the platform like run for you, because they don't really know your industry terms. So for us in B2B, this gets really, really tricky, right? Because like we say a lot of terms that have jargon, and the jargon that has meaning, because this is jargon that means something. And I find that the automated things do not do well. Okay. So you don't just want to use their stuff. So use a tool like Rev to go auto create it. It has a great little integration with Vimeo that I find convenient. Or you can use the auto-generated one on your side. Like Riverside will generate captions for you. Vimeo will generate captions. I feel like there's like 11 tools in my current marketing tech stack that will all give me captions and transcripts. You're going to export it in the format, but like edit it and review it and make sure that it's correct before you download it and upload it. And the reason this is important, I'm just going to give you an example. Like we have a client at Terrace, and it is a really awesome like FP&A, corporate planning tool. I have all of the default transcript services all want to call it terrorist. Like we have yet to find anybody that gets, all the AI says it's like terrorists say, terrorists do this and terrorists do that. And this is actually having a negative impact on their content, because YouTube thinks they're making videos about terrorism. They're not, like, because that's all YouTube does. YouTube doesn't know what is actually in the video. It just knows like what the transcript is pulling, like, and it says the auto-generated transcript says this is a video about terrorism. So we don't use auto-generated transcripts for Act Terrorist, and you shouldn't either, right? Just make sure you fix that. when you get that stuff out, go take when the video's done, get your captions made. You can use Riverside, will generate some of this. Get the show notes, we call them in a podcast, like longer form videos. We use Writer. You can also use Writer. We talk a lot about writer.com. That's one. They will give you summaries for things so you can publish things on the blog. You can write your social copy. Otter, a lot of times I take all the stuff and I feed it in and I use Otter to transcribe and summarize and extract insights. ChatGPT will also do this job for you. The trick about ChatGPT, though, is they won't take the video as the video. Like, you're going to have to give it the transcript. So I'd say look at Rev. They have an AI only version. They also have the human generated version, but pretty much all your video tools right now have transcription services. Vimeo has it. YouTube will give you one. Like, take it, but just edit it first, okay? And then, captions. The other thing I want to say about captions is there's two types of captions. There's burned in captions and there are closed captions. And it takes me forever to remember this, that open and closed, that like the burned in ones are open. I feel like it should be the other way. But captions where you burn them in, the pro of that is that you control it. You control the placement. You can put it like the way we saw with the Dave Ramsey video. It was like right there in the middle, nothing else on top of it. And you're putting them in. The negative to that is that the person on the other side, let's say somebody in another language wants to watch your video, like they're going to have to still create their own auto-generated captions. You're either going to upload something for me. There's going to be some kind of captions. And so you're just going to have dual captions that you don't control, right? You can't turn off. There's only so much you can control. You can control what appears on that screen, but you can't control what they choose to show or not show when they play your video. So there's a good chance there just might be text all over your screen. But you have to have captions. And I generally favor closed captions. I think they are the most accessible way to do this. They are best if someone is using a screen reader, for example, which I know might sound weird. It's like, why are you watching my videos with no sound, but also using a screen reader? Look, just let people live their lives. Okay. Just let them live their lives. That's how they want to listen to stuff. But you need captions. Captions are also what LinkedIn, if y'all have noticed on AI now, and Facebook is doing this too, where you've got the little AI bit where they summarize the video. It's the caption file that they're using to do that. So if you don't control your caption, you're not controlling what that AI is pulling. And it might be bad and dumb. So go get that little bit of copy. Promotion. So I mentioned early on that people often think about the promotion. They put a lot of love into making it and very little into promoting it. And when really it is with the classic iceberg at how much like time is actually should be spent producing it and how much is promoting it. The list is way longer. It's about the little things. You actually have to optimize the video. If you just throw the video up there and pray, like no one is going to see it. Like the odds are not in your favor here. Okay. So write a nice, long, optimized description. Include that transcript of that whole video for accessibility and searchability. You got to have those end cards. You need to think about every step of that journey. And I know this sounds tedious. It's not fun like making the video, but it is the thing you have to do to be able to see it. You can also pay. So that's the organic piece. And then you can layer in paid. If you get that stuff right, it becomes worth it to pay. Because now you've got something that's got purpose and it has a call to action and it's nice and optimized. And you can put in those title cards, those end cards, you can actually have calls to action. And YouTube ads are actually cheaper for B2B topics by a long shot than most of the things that everybody's fighting for $200 a click for over in the main Google feed. So look at YouTube ads, look at Facebook Reels ads, look at those things. Once you get the content right, run the ads. Talked about captions already. And then I do want to leave a couple minutes for content, but there's I want to talk about why this is so important. Like if you're still going back to that why question, multimedia content is the way you like sort of Gen AI proof yourself on search. Where Gen AI search is in the old way, it was like you had a keyword and it would find it and your goal was to rank and kind of make it up to the top of this list. Okay, that is old way and that way is fading. Gen AI, instead, it's a probabilistic model and they're looking for connections between things. Multimedia content is going to beat text-only content every time because if you take and you make the video and you publish it in one place and then you take it and adapt it and put it over in this other channel and then you put it over in this other channel and you write it up and you have it in all, like let's say you've got a podcast and you put it in all the podcast channels, you get mentions in other places, people get comments. The Gen AI search engines They don't just see one thing that you made. They go, my gosh, they made 20 things talking about this topic. They must be an important part of this topic. You can't get that from just writing a thing. Like, take the richness of the initial multimedia piece and break it into all that other stuff. And that will give you the foundation for Gen AI search. All right, I've got 5 whole minutes for questions. From Brett. Oh, Brett Starr, my best friend of me, who's actually great on video, by the way. He's really fun. I think I have his book over here. Oh my God, is his book in here? All right, I'll first of all answer his question. Do you recommend that brands focus on a single channel or focus on multiple? LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, etc. I'd say start with one, okay? And start with the one channel that is a great fit for the biggest problem that you have, okay? So think about content for solving problems, not content for making content. Don't think channel first, think problem first. So if I have a brand awareness problem, I have to ask myself, well, where are my people hanging out and how can I get in front of them? And pick the right channel for that and go really get your legs under you for that channel. And I'd say give yourself 90 days to get a rhythm of producing something. So let's say you decide to pick YouTube and you're going to do like the SEO kind of thing I explained, where they're making those explainer videos. Go nail that, right? Go nail that and then start doing other things. I think YouTube is actually a really nice, safe place to do it. Another one, I'd say LinkedIn. If you're going to do LinkedIn, pick that one type of content and really get in there and learn that channel. Because if you just start bouncing around, I don't think you're likely to get the kind of traction you need to get the kind of numbers that you need to ask for more investment if you're trying too many things. So once you get that one, give yourself 90 days and then bounce over to another one. And then I do want to just give a shout out since Brett's here. And Brett's got this great book. It's called A Humble Guide to Fixing Everything in Brand Marketing and Sales. And what I love about this, if you haven't read this book, Brett does a great job of sort of reminding us, like, not to just go copy other people. And I think about best practices. And that's one of the things. There is a point, and I think about this a lot. Like, you do want to learn best practices. There are things that are right and that are wrong when it comes to content and marketing and video, right? But if you cannot let your strategy here, the most dangerous thing that I see people doing that makes them fail is their strategy consists of, well, what is my competitor doing? Right? Or so-and-so is doing this, and there must be a reason. Though there might not be. The only reason might be that their CEO is an idiot and told them to do that and wouldn't let them follow like the things that are actually working. So the fun thing about videos, we have a ton of data. We have a lot of data. So look at your actual engagement user data. Like, think about your customer and look at your data, and don't be afraid to do the opposite of whatever your competitors are doing. So if they're making boring product demos all over YouTube, come in and smoke them by interviewing like industry influencers, right? Don't just copy them. Don't be like, well, they're bigger than us and more successful, so what they're doing must be the right way. It's like, probably not. It just means they got more money to spend to do dumb shit and more ads. Oh yeah, here's Brett's book. We can drop the link in here. But I would say if you really want something to read that's quick, it's easy, and it will help shake your head loose about this, because we've really gotten ourselves in this the copycat thing is exhausting, honestly. It's like, and I think that is where, if you can buy yourself a little space to be experimental, I think a lot of times in B2B content, we've got this formula of like, we make white papers because we're serious people. And then we write blog posts for SEO, and we put out email nurture sequence because that's what we have to do to sell people the software. And I think it's harder as a marketer to break out of like doing those old things, those rut things that everybody knows we're supposed to be doing. The fact that video is still relatively new and there's a lot of opportunity, take that as like your freedom piece, because there isn't as much, there's no like, here is how we do this here. We've never done it that way. So like, just go break off and do it. Take advantage of the fact that like your channels, like for example, like if on TikTok, it's like, if you normally have a boss that's like really kind of in your business about like, well, that's not right, and most everything about, just go TikTok. They're not on TikTok. Just go over and do what you're going to do, right? Just test it. And if it works, then you can come back and show them. But like, do not get hung up on copying people. Don't do it, because like there actually aren't. This is changing so fast. Like LinkedIn is, by the way, y'all, LinkedIn is adding a shorts now too. Like essentially LinkedIn is adding a new vertical format, and they're doing it. So first TikTok had it. right? And then we get Instagram was square, and now it's like, stop copying people. Like, just stop copying people. Like, that's my Brett Starr message. But yeah, y'all should read this book because it's adorable and awesome, and it'll help you make better videos. So
You've got another question from Dave.
Oh, I got another question. All right. I don't see Dave.
It says, how do you convince your brand team with stringent guidelines to try a new creative approach to social videos?
You go behind their back. You just sneak around behind their back. No, but I do think that is going to be the hardest thing about this. Honestly, making the videos, creating the videos, like for B2B, I mean, I guess here's the thing I would say is like, I would ask, try to figure out what would change their mind, right? So you know them personally. And so sometimes there's certain things that'll work and certain things that won't. So data, like, are they the kind of people whose minds can be persuaded by saying, yeah, I know that you want me to make all this music, but 85% of the people are going to watch this with no sound. Are you sure this is something we should do? Right? That's going to persuade someone who is persuadable by data. If your brand people are more likely to just be driven by, but I don't like that, that's going to be a lot tougher. Like, and that is still a lot of creative people. I'm just going to go ahead and say that, like a lot of creatives, like it is not what we're driven by our personal preferences. And so for that group, I would ask for a test and just say, no, I hear you. And I hear you. Like, this isn't normally how we do this. Like, go to a channel where you don't already have a lot of traction, right? I mean, most B2B brands have dead Instagram, Facebook channels, and they got nothing on TikTok. So instead of going up against them and saying like, hey, LinkedIn is our big important channel and it's our primary driver and we've got all these templates, don't ask them to mess with those templates. Okay. Let them keep on doing what they're doing. Ask to do something in a channel that is already dead, like, or that's never taken off, and say, do you mind if I use this as my sandbox? In my experience, they are more likely to let that slide. That's what I find happens. And don't push your luck too much. Like, try to find some ways, like, that's kind of what I mean by the safe bet. There's the channel play and there's the safe bet. And the safe bet is always to take things you're already doing and adapt them and remix them for that format. You will rarely get in trouble for that. Like, however, the wackier stuff is where you're actually more likely to see ROI. But it is difficult to get them to, you're not going to go straight there. But so go somewhere where they won't see it. That's the best way I can describe it. I don't mean like hide it, but just like the risk. There's no risk. It's like, okay, your Instagram channel gets no traction anyway. So what will it hurt if I go make fun videos on Instagram? And if you win and you get some traction, then you can get more resources. That's usually how I like to think about it. All right. Anything else? It looks like we get all the way through there. All right, y'all. I know I just kind of talked to y'all a lot, but I am going to send out an email when I do this recording. I'm going to include some resources, including the full name and a link to Mr. Brett's book. And I'll include like where you can buy some good, like the software tools that we mentioned, like TubeBuddy and Riverside and things like that. And I'll also include like some tips, like we talk about equipment, like what kind of cameras and things like that. Like, we've got some good resources for that. So thanks, y'all.